There are those who think that the delicate touch is the best, that you can't solve a problem with a destructive or chaotic force, but chaos is only a problem if you aren't prepared to adapt to it and roll with it. True operators know how to turn chaos into a tool, turn destruction into a weapon, and strike fear into the hearts of their enemies. That is the philosophy of Shuhrat Kasikabayev, or better known as Fuze. Shuhrat was born in Uzbekistan to a military family. His family moved to Russia just before the fall of the Soviet Union, and his parents encouraged him and his brother to embrace what it was to be Russian. Shuhrat and his brother both ended up joining the military once they came of age, and from there, the young man learned that he had an aptitude for science and mechanics. His skills with machines and mechanical engineering landed him a spot as a weapon testing facility in Alabino near Moscow. While with the 27th Motor Rifle Brigade, Shuhrat revealed that he was an excellent sharpshooter and possessed a gift with weapon understanding. Somewhere along the way, Shuhrat was recruited by the Spetsnaz. However, little is known about his work with them, as it's classified. But what is known is that he formed a close relationship with fellow Spetsnaz operative Glaz, one of the only people that he opens up to. Now, while with the Russian military, Shuhrat developed his own device, a devastating gadget that could decimate enemy soldiers hiding behind walls or barricades. This earned him his nickname, Fuze. But not all were as impressed, though. In an operation in 2004, which remains classified, Fuze apparently ended up in a confrontation with Hong Kong operator Ying, who called Fuze a questionable asset, saying he was far too reckless and had no consideration for civilian lives. FBI agent Ash had to step in and defuse the situation. But regardless of this, Fuze was still recruited into Rainbow in 2015, along with fellow Spetsnaz operators Glaz, Tachanka, and Kapkan. Despite what Ying said, though, Fuze is actually not that reckless. The truth is that Fuze is a very contained and reserved individual. He seldom speaks, and when he does, it's careful and controlled. While his gadget is indeed devastating, Fuze is not without compassion. In fact, he's a very hospitable and kind person at heart. This was demonstrated during the 2026 Invitational. Kali invited Fuze and several other operators to her private headquarters for training sessions, but it was secretly a way to recruit potential Rainbow operators to her cause at Nighthaven when she planned to defect. During the training session, Fuze hesitated to fire when he saw a target, and Kali asked him why. Fuze explained that his teammate Aruni was in the line of fire and could have been hit. Kali told him it was Nighthaven policy to, quote, play hard and take risks, and that friendly fire did not matter since no real lives were in danger in the arena. Kali later told Fuze that he knew where to find her if he wanted a change of career. But surprisingly, Fuze didn't accept her offer. Neither did any of the other Spetsnaz operators. Fuze, contrary to what many think, is a very moral individual. He is caring and compassionate, but he withholds his emotions often because he prefers stoicism. Fuze chooses to look at operations as, quote, breaking down defenses as efficiently as possible. But he still maintains situational awareness. He does not purposefully want to harm others, though, and it seems he's seeking some kind of direction with his life. Apparently, at one point, he was engaged to a woman for some time, but he canceled the marriage as he felt it wasn't the right thing to do. It's not entirely clear what Fuze is necessarily seeking, but what is clear is he's not nearly the destructive demon people assume he is. There's just more to Fuze than that, and most don't take the time to look at it. Now, in terms of his gadget, Fuze possesses the 4 APM-6 Matryoshka cluster charges. These charges are perhaps the most destructive gadgets in the game, making Fuze a nightmare for the defending team. When planting on any flat surface, as long as there's an empty room or area behind it, Fuze can activate the charge to launch 5 hockey puck-shaped sub-grenades into the area behind the charge, exploding and destroying anything destructible they explode near, including walls, gadgets, floors, furniture, and yes, operators. Cluster charges can only be planted and activated one at a time. When firing through a reinforced wall, the charge takes a little longer to fire. The grenades that launch through will often bounce once or twice before detonating. These gadgets can cause devastating damage to any operators, and even if no operators are killed, they'll still likely destroy plenty of their gadgets on the other side of the wall.
Liberty, liberty.
But there are a few counters to Fuze. Mute jammers, for example, can keep the charge from activating it within range. Mute and Cade electric gadgets will destroy a charge if planted on an electric surface. Wamai and Jaeger devices can catch some of the grenades when fired into a room. However, since there is a cooldown on Jaeger's gadget, and Wamai is limited to one object per pull, the Fuze charges can overwhelm these gadgets. The biggest holdup, though, for Fuze is friendly fire. Fuze's charges can easily kill hostages or friendly teammates, so it's vital that Fuze be careful about who is in the line of fire when using this gadget. I can't tell you how many times I have been team killed because I accidentally killed a fellow attacker while launching a Fuze charge. Now for his loadout, Fuze comes equipped with 3 primary weapons and 2 secondaries. For his primaries, he starts with the 6P41 LMG. It's a pretty stellar LMG for laying down heavy suppressive fire. It has high damage per shot and a very high magazine capacity. Its biggest problem is its recoil, which can be a little tricky to overcome and control. Aside from that, it also suffers from a long reload time and slow rate of fire, making it dangerous in close quarters and when you empty your magazine. A good weapon to be sure, and fitting of someone like Fuze just because of its maximum damage output.
Cluster charge going up.
His second is the AK-12 assault rifle, a rather strong assault rifle with a high damage output and a fast rate of fire. However, it lacks control and has a harsh vertical and horizontal recoil, making it hard to handle in longer sprays. However, I do find it rather useful in short bursts, so I can't help but bring it with me most of the time. Plus, its fast reload time compared to the LMG is very much appreciated. He also has the ballistic shield, and I don't know, that's kind of a mixed bag for me. Bringing the shield does provide more cover, but you're reduced to only using your pistol. If that's the trade you want to take, I mean, go for it, but I choose maximum firepower over moderately better forward defense. Plus, I feel like the shield gives you a false sense of security. You feel like if you hunker down behind the shield, you're going to be safe, but explosions can still cause you damage, and you might not be thinking about what's coming up behind you. And if you have enemies on both sides, well, you'll need more than a pistol to save yourself, I feel like. For his secondaries, we've talked about both before with Capcan, but let's go over them briefly again. The PMM handgun is a gun we talked about already, but as a brief review, this is a stellar handgun with high damage output, really fast reload, and a good recoil. It just has a smaller magazine. It's better at least than his other gun, the GS-H18 handgun, which we've also talked about with Capcan. It has subpar damage per shot and a steep damage drop-off. Its only real saving grace is a larger than average magazine, but yeah, the PMM is more trustworthy in my opinion to get the job done.
Football season is here, and NFL Sunday Ticket for Gadget TV runs a $429 value. Plus, get a free Samsung Galaxy 8 with 5 only on Verizon. We're back, Monster Fans, and with the 2-way geek
Your best strategies with Fuze involve a lot of teamwork. Not just because you need to stick close to your allies, but because if your teammates run into the line of fire before you can launch your cluster charge, you're in a lot of trouble. You need to make sure that you go to a location and show your teammates, hey, I'm going to be dropping a cluster charge, don't enter just yet. And there are a few ways you can do this. You can plant the device and then warn others by shooting at something and making your opponents and making your team know that you're setting up for something. That's one way I've done it. Also, you can team up with characters such as Thatcher or Dokkaebi. Dokkaebi can launch a logic bomb holding enemies in place while they're inside of the area you're about to launch your cluster charge. You can also use Lion's gadget to make sure that people are staying still so that you can launch the charge. Thatcher can take out mute jammers, arcade or bandit batteries, or Jaeger catchers or Wamai devices. There are lots of ways that you can team up with other operators to make sure that you get the maximum usage out of your cluster charge. But I cannot stress this enough. If there's a hostage on the other side of the wall, or your teammates are wandering around in the objective zone, do not, and I repeat, do not use your cluster charge. You will do damage or even kill the people on the other side. You could cost yourself the round, and it could lead to team killing later. Fuze is a dangerous choice to pick when you need to be careful. But if it's a room where you have to just secure an objective zone, or if you need to get someone with inside the bomb location, it's an excellent operator to use. In conclusion, Fuze is one of my favorite operators to run if I just want to go for maximum destruction. He's pretty easy to figure out. Just launch your freaking cluster charge into a room and watch the fireworks. I do think that there is one slight problem. Fuze has become the mean character of this person who doesn't care about life. You know, to him, hostages are just bogeys who don't shoot back. You know, they're just hostiles who don't fire at you. And I get the joke; it is funny, but honestly, I think there's more to Fuze than that. I like the idea that he's actually a compassionate person who just doesn't know how to express himself. In many ways, I feel like a person invents weapons of such devastation not because they enjoy carnage, but because they want to avoid catastrophe. Think about the person who invented the Gatling gun. It was a gun designed by a doctor so that hopefully the wars could be ended quicker so there would be less death. Ironic, really, and that's what I see with Fuze. It's not that he likes seeing things explode. It's not that he likes bringing death to other people. It's the fact of, I want to get this done with quickly so that we can minimize collateral and get home quicker. I think there's something there. I kind of like the idea of this person who has to take a really difficult decision and that leads to something better in the long run. And yeah, I think that there's something to Fuze. I wish it was explored a little bit more, but I don't think Fuze is bad by any stretch of the imagination. But what do you guys think? What do you guys think of Fuze? Is he your favorite operator? Is he your least favorite operator? What did you think of all this information? Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I will see you in my next video. Take care.